Chapter 25 of Book 2 of Prior Analytics by Aristotle. Chapter 25 of Abduction. Abduction is, when it is evident the first is present with the middle, but it is not evident that the middle is with the last, though it is similarly credible, or more so, than the conclusion. Moreover, if the media of the last and of the middle be few, for it by all means happens that we shall be nearer to knowledge. For instance, let A be what may be taught, B science, C justice. That science then may be taught is clear, but not whether justice is science. If therefore B, C is equally or more credible than A, C, it is abduction, for we are nearer knowledge because of our assuming A, C, not possessing science before. Example 1. Every science may be taught, brackets, known. All justice is science, bracket, equally or more credible than the conclusion, close bracket. Therefore, all justice may be taught, brackets, unknown. Or again, if the media of B, C should be few, for thus we are nearer knowledge, as if D should be to be squared, E a rectilinear figure, and F a circle, then if of E, F there is only one middle, for a circle to become equal to a rectilinear figure through lunula will be a thing near to knowledge. Example 2. Every rectilinear figure may be squared, brackets, known. Every circle may become a rectilinear figure, bracket, proved through one middle, i.e. per unulas, close bracket. Every circle may be squared, bracket, this is proved through many media, close bracket. But when neither B, C is more credible than A, C, nor the media fewer, I do not call this abduction, nor when B, C is immediate, for such a thing is knowledge. Chapter 26 of Objection. Objection is a proposition contrary to a proposition. It differs, however, from a proposition because objection may be partial, but proposition cannot be so at all, or not in universal syllogisms. Objection indeed is advanced in two ways, and by two figures. In two ways, because every objection is either universal or particular, and by two figures, because they are used opposite to the proposition, and opposites are concluded in the first and third figure alone. When then a person requires it to be admitted that anything is present with every individual, we object either that it is with none, or that it is not with a certain one, and of these the being present with none is shown by the first figure, but that it is not with a certain one by the last. For instance, let A be, quote, there is one science, and B contraries, close quote. When therefore a person advances that there is one science of contraries, it is objected either that there is not the same science of opposites altogether, but contraries are opposites, so that there is the first figure. Example 1. Proposition. There is one science of contraries. Objection. There is not one science of opposites. contraries are opposites. Therefore, there is not one science of contraries. Or that there is not one science of the known and of the unknown, and this is the third figure. For of C, that is, of the known, and of the unknown, it is true that they are contraries, but that there is one science of them is false. Example 2. Proposition: there is one science of contraries. Objection: there is not one science of the known and of the unknown. The known and the unknown are contraries. There is not one science of contraries. Again, in like manner, in a negative proposition, for if any one asserts that there is not one science of contraries, we say either that there is the same science of all opposites, or that there is of certain contraries, as of the salubrious and of the noxious. That there is therefore one science of all things is by the first figure, but that there is of certain by the third. In short, in all disputations it is necessary that he who universally objects should apply a contradiction of the propositions to the universal. Example 3. Proposition: therefore, there is not one science of contraries. Objection: there is one science of opposites. Contraries are opposites. Therefore, there is one science of contraries. Proposition the same. Objection: there is one science of the salubrious and noxious. The salubrious and noxious are contraries. Therefore, there is one science of certain contraries. As if someone should assert that there is not the same science of all contraries, the objector should say that there is one of opposites. For thus it is necessary that there should be the first figure, since the middle becomes an universal to that which was proposed at first. But he who objects in part must contradict that which is universal, of which the proposition is stated, as that there is not the same science of the known and the unknown, for the contraries are universal with reference to these. The third figure is also produced, for what is particularly assumed is the middle, for instance, the known and the unknown, as from what we may infer a contrary syllogistically, from the same we endeavour to urge objections. Wherefore, we adduce then objections from these figures only, for in these alone opposite syllogisms are constructed, since we cannot conclude affirmatively through the middle figure. Moreover, even if it were possible, yet the objection in the middle figure would require more extensive discussion, as if anyone should not admit A to be present with B, because C is not consequent to it. For this is manifest through other propositions. The objection, however, must not be diverted to other things, but should forthwith have the other proposition apparent, wherefore also from this figure alone there is not a sign. We must consider also other objections, as those adduced from the contrary, from the similar, and from what is according to opinion. Also, whether it is possible to assume a particular objection from the first, or a negative from the middle figure. Chapter 27. Of likelihood, sign, and enthymeme. Likelihood and sign, however, are not the same, but the likely is a probable proposition for what men know to have generally happened, or not, or to be or not to be. This is a likelihood, for instance, that the envious hate, or that lovers love. But a sign seems to be a demonstrative proposition, necessary or probable for that which, when it exists, a thing is, or which when it has happened, before or after a thing has happened, this is a sign of a thing happening, or being. Now an enthymeme is a syllogism from likelihoods, or signs, but a sign is assumed triply, in as many ways as the middle in the figures, for it is either as in the first, or as in the middle, or as in the third, as to show that a woman is pregnant because she has milk is from the first figure, for the middle is to have milk. Let A be to be pregnant, B to have milk, C a woman. Example 1. Whatever woman has milk is pregnant. This woman has milk. Therefore, this woman is pregnant. But that wise men are worthy, for Pittacus is a worthy man, is through the last figure. Let A be worthy, B wise men, C Pittacus. It is true then A and B are predicated of C, except that they do not assert the one because they know it, but the other they assume. Example 2. Pittacus is a worthy man. Pittacus is a wise man. Therefore, wise are worthy men. But that a woman is pregnant because she is pale would be through the middle figure, for since paleness is a consequence of pregnancy, and also attends this woman, they fancy it proved that she is pregnant. Let A be paleness, to be pregnant B, a woman C. Example 3. Whatever woman is pregnant is pale. This woman is pale. Therefore, this woman is pregnant. If then one proposition should be enunciated, there is only a sign, but if the other also be assumed, there is a syllogism, as for instance, that Pittacus is liberal, for the ambitious are liberal, and Pittacus is ambitious, or again, that the wise are good, for Pittacus is good and also wise. Thus therefore syllogisms are produced, except indeed that the one in the first figure is incontrovertible if it be true, for it is universal, but that through the last is controvertible, though the conclusion should be true, because the syllogism is not universal, nor to the purpose, for if Pittacus is worthy, it is not necessary that on this account other wise men also should be worthy. But that which is by the middle figure is always and altogether controvertible, for there is never a syllogism when the terms thus subsist, for it is not necessary, if she who is pregnant be pale, and this woman be pale, that this woman should be pregnant. What is true therefore will be in all the figures, but they have the above named differences. Either therefore the sign must be thus divided, but of these the middle must be assumed, as the proof positive, for the proof positive, they say, is that which produces knowledge, but the middle is especially a thing of this kind, or we must call those from the extremes signs, but what is from the middle a proof positive, for that is most probable, and for the most part true, which is through the first figure. We may, however, form a judgment of the disposition by the body, if a person grants that whatever passions are natural change at once the body and the soul, since perhaps one who has learned music has changed his soul in some respect, but this passion is not of those which are natural to us, but such as angers and desires which belong to natural emotions. If therefore this should be granted, and one thing should be a sign of one passion, and we are able to lay hold of the peculiar passion and sign of each genus, we shall be able to conjecture from nature. For if a peculiar passion is inherent in a certain individual genus, as fortitude in lions, it is necessary also that there should be a certain sign, for it is supposed that they, the body and soul, sympathize with each other, and let this be the having great extremities, which also is contingent to other, not whole, genera. For the sign is thus peculiar, because the passion is a peculiarity of the whole genus, and is not the peculiarity of it alone, as we are accustomed to say. The same sign then will also be inherent in another genus, and man will be brave, and some other animal, it will then possess that sign. For there was one sign of one passion. If then these things are so, and we can collect such signs in those animals, which have one peculiar passion alone, but each passion has its own sign, since it is necessary that it should have one, we may be able to conjecture the nature from the bodily frame. But if the whole genus have two peculiarities, as a lion has fortitude and liberality, how shall we know which of those signs that are peculiarly consequent is the sign, if either passion? Shall we say that we may know this if both are inherent in something else, but not wholly, and in what each is not inherent wholly, when they have the one, they have not the other? For if a lion is brave, but not generous, but has this from two signs, it is evident that in a lion also this is the sign of fortitude. But to form a judgment of the natural disposition by the bodily frame is for this reason in the first figure, because the middle reciprocates with the major term, but exceeds the third, and does not reciprocate with it. As for instance, let fortitude be A, great extremities B, and C a lion, wherefore B is present with every individual, with which C is, but with others also, and A is with every individual of that with which B is present, and with no more, but is converted, for if it were not, there would not be one sign of one passion. Example 4. Whatever has great extremities is brave. Some man has great extremities, therefore some man is brave. End of chapter 27 of book 2, and end of prior analytics by Aristotle. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards.